Turned up to this one. Customer said the radiator leaks when it's on. You can see the little rust patch at the bottom. It's obviously rusting from inside out. The reason it leaks when the heating's on is because the metal expands when it gets hot. So I'm going to replace the radiator like for like. Customer wanted to keep the valves, wanted to keep the cost down. So I turned the TRV off, now I'm turning the lock shield off. This isolates the radiator. Now I'm going to put a protective sheet down. I'm going to put a bowl one end, my waterproof bag the other. I'm going to crack the nut open. It's a good idea to hold the valve and undo the nut at the same time. I'm going to let the water drain into the bag. This is where you'll see if the valves are holding or not, because otherwise you'll get wet. You can see it's holding, only a little bit of water. Next thing I'm going to do is open the air vent. This lets the air in, which pushes the water out. So just going to wait for that to stop draining. Meanwhile, I'm going to take that extension piece out. Once you're happy it's stopped draining, shut the air vent back off again. Then I'm going to bung the end with some blue roll. Then I'm going to repeat with the other side, undo the nut, let the little bit of water drain out, take the tail out, bung it with some blue roll. It's quite tricky to do on your own, but what you need to do is unhook the radiator and then flip it towards you so it's upside down, and then that makes it easier to carry out and you don't drip water anywhere. Now you can see why we bunged it with blue roll. So impact driver to get these brackets off the wall. Nice clean space to work with. So a little trick with the Stelrad radiators is if you turn it on its side, open the bag up and then flip the radiator upside down, take the bag off, you can actually use that bag as a rubbish bag. Every little helps and it's a little bit more efficient. I completely unpackaged the radiator and put all the bits in the bin and start with a clean working area again. So here's the technical part. I'm going to hold the level in the center of that valve and then put a little tiny mark on the wall. I'm then going to gently lay the radiator down on a floor with no obstructions that are going to scratch it. And then I'm going to mark the center of where that valve would be on the radiator. Now this is on the back of the radiator and this pencil easily wipes off, but try and keep the pencil marks down to a minimum. And then I'm going to put the bracket on the radiator as if it would be on the wall. And then I'm going to use my level to transfer that line across. And now what we're measuring is from the bottom of the bracket to the center of that valve, because that's the same line that we put on the wall. So if we measure that, which is 25 mil, we then know from the center of the valve it's 25 mil to the bottom of the bracket, so we know that's where we need to hang the radiator. So we go back to our line, mark 25 mil, and that becomes our new line for our bottom of the bracket. So we can now transfer that line straight across the wall. And then I'm going to put the radiator in between the two valves where it needs to be. I'm going to find the brackets. They're there. And then mark in the center of those. Going to do both sides the same. So we already had our horizontal markings, now we're going to have our vertical markings for the bracket. Then we put the radiator in a safe place, then we use our level to draw our vertical lines down. So now we have the exact spaces that the brackets need to be. Once you've drawn your vertical line, get yourself a bracket, put it on the wall so the bottom matches up, the side matches up, and then draw the screw holes on the wall so you know where to drill. I always use the fixed hole at the top and then the two adjustable ones as well. You can be OTT and use all of them if you want. However, I don't recommend just using the two adjustable ones because over time the weight of the radiator can pull the brackets down. Repeat this for the other side. Then use a 7mm drill bit, ready for brown plugs. You don't need to watch me drill every hole. Don't need to watch me plug every hole either. Once they're all in, tap them in with a hammer, because you want the plugs flush with the wall. Pop your brackets on the wall and then impact driver in to line up with the holes. Also, they both need to line up with the pencil lines that you've done. And then you put these little covers on, stops the radiators rattling. Right, because we're reusing the old valves, we need to clean the tails off, get all the PTFE off, so it's like that. I'm old school, I still use PTFE. I do 20 wraps. Let me know how many you do. There's no right or wrong answer as long as it doesn't leak. I stick with 20 because not once has it ever leaked. Once I've done 20, I tighten it on and then use my nail to go around with the thread to make sure you don't cross thread it when you put it in the radiator. I'm going to make that tail up ready. Now I'm going to hang the radiator on the wall so that we can make sure that it lines up with our valves. So I like to hook the bottom bracket on first, and then when they're both on, then lean it forward and hook it on the top ones. As you can see, they do match up. The reason we measured from the centre of the valve was that was our fixed spot. That's what doesn't change. So again, you want to clean all that PTFE off, so it's just clean threads. Then we're going to PTFE that again. Then with this, I have to use a special rad spanner to make it into the radiator. As you can see, there isn't really much room. So you can either make both tails in when the radiator is not on the wall, or what I did was I started the tail off and then I just lifted the radiator off with one hand and tightened it with the other hand. I sped it up because you don't need to see that. And we just twist the valve back round so it lines up, and then start the thread by hand before you use a spanner. Always be careful with old threads and old valves because you don't want to cross thread it. Once you're happy, give it a pinch with a spanner, hold the valve with a set of grips. Then I'm going to put the air vent in. I'm right-handed, so I put the air vent on the right because I'm going to bleed it with my right hand. Put the blank on the left. Again, hand tight, then pinch up with a spanner. Style rads come with the little decorative strip, so just pop that on. Once you're happy everything's tight, I'm going to open the TRV, then I'm going to open the lock shield. You can hear the water going in. Once that's open, I'm going to put the cap back on. Going to head over to the boiler and top the pressure up. As you can see, there's no pressure in it because I opened the radiator and all the water filled in there. Pop the temperature to 2 bar, and then I'm going to go back and vent the radiator. You vent all the air out until you get a little bit of water. You're going to need to top the pressure up again, so go back, top the pressure back up, pop the heating on so that you can check that it works. Tidy your stuff away, wipe down the radiator, happy days.